Hello everyone, welcome to Anubhav. Today we have General Secretary of Technical Board, Aashrith Ram.
Hello.
What were the key roles and responsibilities of General Secretary Technical Board?
Okay, so similar to any other board, General Secretary plays an important role in actually bridging the gap between the administration and the technical clubs. So in technical board, since we have 15 clubs and 2 fests under it, so the day-to-day operations of these clubs and fests itself is a very important role of this position. Apart from these, each General Secretary has his own vision with which he wants to drive the board forward, which could be some key challenges which they face or key challenges which they feel that tech culture is actually lacking in the campus and initiatives towards driving that particular culture. So apart from these, the other important aspects, as I mentioned, the day-to-day operations, they involve a lot of financial allocation and resource allocation, and what new can be added into the technical board in general. Could be the likes of equipment, could be the likes of furniture, could be the likes of other competitions in which you want to participate. All of that is decided by the team, of course, with all the club secretaries who are involved in it. But whether to take that decision or whether to not take that decision is eventually coming to a bottleneck at the General Secretary of Technical Board. So let's assume there are 5 different secretaries who are coming with 5 different competitions they want to go towards. At the end is the General Secretary who's the one who's responsible in deciding, okay, with this X amount of budget that I have, what is actually feasible and where to go, and what is the importance of that scale of the competition. So in order to assess all of this, you need to have strong technical background in the first place. Apart from that, in order to be able to judge really whether that particular team is actually able to pursue well in that competition or not. So the ability to judge itself is one of the key roles of the General Secretary of Technical Board. Apart from that, since I mentioned that each General Secretary has its own vision, etc. So it all depends on the time frame with which we are at. So let's assume we are currently in 2025. We have all the equipment, we have everything that is actually needed for a technical board to function at this level, which is let's take the example of performing competitions, etc. But if you go 10 years back, there was the SAC was just made. There were no benches, there were no chairs, etc. So the GenSec at that point had a different vision altogether. That is to first up establish the basic necessities, basic equipment that are required for the board to come to this level. So I think that vision changes over time, and it has to be an incremental growth year on year. So being at the helm of the board, I feel if you look at over scale, let's assume take the example of 5 years or 10 years down the line, the role of each General Secretary is very important in such cases because it is always a constant improvement of the board at the end of the day. So irrespective of how each club is performing, how each respective fest is doing, it's ultimately about the board and about that incremental progress which is going on.
What was the major challenge you faced throughout your tenure?
So coming to the major challenges in general, throughout any tenure of technical board, the constant drive is to improve the tech culture of campus. But this time, especially last year in the IIT Tech Meet, we were placed at the 4th position. So the constant drive was there throughout the years in order to improve it further. So the major challenge was this: in order to how can we improve this particular performance? Apart from every year's improvement in terms of respective domains, which is always there. This year we thought of doing an initiative of inter-IIT bootcamp, which was done last year as well, but we tried to do it at scale in an organized manner this time. So apart from that, if you talk about me as the General Secretary, the main challenge I faced was at the inter-IIT Tech Meet, when the finals are really happening, in order to convince different other IITs, in order to put our points forward, that okay, these were the opportunities we had, and these are the submissions, etc. In the contention meet, facing against different other IITs, in order to defend ourselves or go against the other IITs in terms of okay, there was a mistake by some other IIT in terms of the submission, etc. How do we turn up and represent your institute at such a level at a pan IIT level where other respective counterparts are also fighting for their position? I think that was one of the major challenges which I faced throughout my tenure, and it has eventually helped me to go through it. And eventually at the end, we reached the first podium position for the IIT Guwahati's contingent, which in itself is a proud feeling for all the General Secretaries who've been a part of this.
What's a common misconception that people don't realize until they step into it?
One of the core misconceptions I felt was that people think this is sort of a managerial position where you're just overseeing everything and not actually having something hands-on, which I feel is not the case at all, because without actually knowing what what goes into actually executing an event. Let's take for example of an event conduction or participating in a competition. It is very important to actually know the intricacies of everything that is involved in that process. Only then, only once you have the clear grasp of what actually goes through, what is the process that is being followed in the event, what are the different things that are involved here and there, that is when you'll actually know that at an executional level, okay, this is what needs to be done, this is what needs to be done, and that's when you guide your juniors along with. So it's not just about managing that, ठीक है ये club ये कर लेगा, ये fest में under ये हो जाएगा. It is actually you need to know at an executional level what needs to be done and what needs to not be done, because you need to guide your juniors accordingly, that these are the mistakes which you've done in the last event. It needs to not be repeated or whatever it is.
What suggestions would you give to someone contesting for this position?
For someone who's contesting for the position of General Secretary Technical Board, it's very important to understand the functioning of Tech Board at the first place. And then in order to understand this functioning itself, you need to, at least what I did was talk to all the 15 club secretaries that are there, all the fest conveners that are there, all the fest heads that are there as well. And then apart from that, go one level backwards and talk to the previous set of secretaries, and if possible go to the previous set of secretaries as well, because that is when you'll actually understand the different evolution that is actually going on at a club level from one year to the other year. And that's when, as GenSec Tech, you will be able to add value, that okay, this club has actually had this core intention 2 years back, but it's sort of deviating from there right now. So that is when at each club level you'll be able to execute things. Apart from that, it's always better to reach out to me or the previous general secretaries as well, in order to understand our vision as well. And then when you have all of these things on hand, that is when you decide the way you want to take it forward. So let's assume you have everything on table with all the previous set of, what are the previous set of clubs doing in the past 2-3 years, what are the previous set of clubs which are doing at the GenSec level. Apart from that, I would even suggest to go at a pre-COVID level as well, because that back then things were completely different and people had different vision altogether. So after once all of this is done, that's when you can formulate things and you can have one set of streamlined vision with which you want to move forward, and accordingly you can guide the secretaries as well, because eventually when the secretaries are being made or being nominated, it's not much of knowledge that they have, and it's usually the GenSec who's actually driving them forward. So I think that background research is a core necessity, without which it's not worth it to actually contest for such a position at the board level. So this is a definite necessity I would suggest for the upcoming candidates.